On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was fatally shot while speaking at Utah Valley University.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
Christ is not just grace-focused, he's simultaneously truth-focused. He goes up to the woman who had a career in selling herself for sex and said, sin no more. Now, imagine today how much trouble you would get in if you would go up to somebody and say, stop sinning. Oh, you're being too judgmental. No, you're actually being Christ-like.
For some, he was a fearless, conservative, and Christian voice. For others, he was a source of deep division. But what's shocked me most isn't just the assassination itself, it's the reaction. Online, people are celebrating his death. And that tells us something very dangerous about where we are in politics, in our psychology, and where our media is pushing us.
Celebrate the passing of the co-founder of Turning Point USA. Disturbing reactions range from mocking memes to outright cheering.
Clap if you care. All right, let's move on.
One user shared a video of herself dancing with a caption that read, "Charlie Kirk was just shot in the neck. This is cause for celebration." Others have shared images showing party balloons and memes with phrases like, "rest in piss." The popular X account, Libs of TikTok, posted a disturbing compilation of people openly mocking Kirk's death.
Now, this video isn't about defending or condemning Charlie Kirk. However, to be clear, I've been watching Charlie Kirk for years. I am devastated by his death. My condolences to his family, to his wife Erica, and to his children. And I do not believe a lot of the rhetoric that is online presently around Charlie Kirk. Did I agree with everything he said? No. But I do believe that he was a good, kind man who had morals, Christian morals. He certainly did not deserve to be shot. Now, what this video is about the moment that reveals radicalization, about personal dynamics, about the propaganda that we are all swimming in, whether we notice it or not. So here's what we know so far. Prosecutors say that the alleged shooter opposed Kirk's so-called spread of hate, particularly around LGBTQ+ and transgender issues. And the responses online, they really couldn't be more polarized. Some people are mourning. Some people are furious, and some people are literally saying that he deserved it. And I find this chilling, because once society starts celebrating political assassinations, we are crossing a line that doesn't end well. Now, what did Charlie Kirk actually say? Now, for us to understand polarization, we have to look at the words that Charlie Kirk actually said and what made him such a lightning rod. So, for example, when discussing feminism, Charlie Kirk once said, quote, "Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge."
Make Taylor Swift more conservative. Engage in reality more and get outside of the abstract clouds. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge. And most importantly, I can't wait to go to a Taylor Kelsey concert. I can't say it without laughing. You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it. Congratulations, Taylor.
Now, this is a problem because if you don't actually have a good husband because you haven't done the personal work to get to the position of having a good husband, and you haven't picked a good husband, you aren't going to want to submit to him. To submit to a husband isn't to be submissive. It is a Christian connotation of submitting to somebody who you have chosen to lead you. It's an interesting concept that kind of reminds me a little bit of BDSM, because in BDSM, people think that the dominant is the one who is in control. It's not true. The person who submits is the person who is ultimately in control, because they dictate who they are submitting to and how they submit. So this idea of submitting to a husband as being something that is a bad thing If you've picked a good husband and you choose to submit to them, this is a good thing. It's because you've chosen a good man to follow. When you take things out of context and you apply your own messed up, amoral nonsense to it, you miss what's being said. And as a result of it, you're applying your own projections to Charlie and saying that he's saying that women should submit to bad men, which is definitely not what Charlie ever said. Now, in the discussions of abortion, Charlie said, quote, "The answer here is yes, the baby would be delivered." This is an answer to when he was asked a question about whether or not he would make a 10-year-old rape victim go forward to have a child. And Charlie was ostensibly against abortion. This is because he had a Christian moral root that abortion is murder. This isn't something that is cruel and awful and horrific. This is something that he's understanding that the moral that to do something evil as a result of something evil doesn't make good. And we see this a lot, I think, at the moment, where people want to do evil things to repair for evil things, and more evil doesn't make evil go away. You know, in the words of Nietzsche, you cannot kill a monster without becoming one. And I think far too many of us want to somehow remain moral and have a moral high ground when doing the exact same thing that we are judging others for. You know, and as Jesus said, he who is without sin should cast the first stone, and none of us are sinless. And so we can't sit there and judge people, and we certainly can't stop people doing things with the same action that we're trying to stop. It doesn't make any sense, and it won't work. Now, perhaps the most infamous is that he said that he needed to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor, and we need it immediately. And this is a pretty controversial perspective, and one that I would say kind of seems to go against really Charlie's actual base moral instincts. But you can see here the feelings, the strength of conviction that he had around these things. And again, whether you agree or disagree, that is somebody's opinion, and it's formed off of an attempt to protect vulnerable individuals. Now you can see why opponents may have viewed him as hateful. But here's the twist. Not every viral claim about him is true. For instance, one widely shared video supposedly showed Kirk using an anti-Asian slur, when in fact what he was saying was yelling Cenk Uyghur, which is not a slur. Is a friend of his. Cenk Uyghur. He was trying to get the attention of this person. Now, this propaganda cycle in action is true controversial statements get amplified, whilst false ones circulate alongside them, reinforcing an image of pure villainy, and the nuances disappear. And I made a video about this, the other day on TikTok, or link somewhere, that we are really in a polarized state where the nuances of situations are being lost. And this creates a hugely problematic situation for our society. So why does polarization hit some people harder? Let's talk about psychology. Cluster B personality traits, narcissistic, borderline, antisocial, histrionic, they all share some themes. Now, this is black and white thinking, it's emotional intensity, it's blaming others, and it's needing validation. Now, when politics is framed as us versus them, these traits can explode. And I want to posit a theory that due to trauma, due to the situations in our societies, these personalities are rife. And the people who tend to be on social media are people who tend to have these cluster B personality traits. So think about it. If you're constantly told that you are on the good side, then anything that you do against the bad side feels justified. That's why people genuinely think that celebrating Charlie Kirk's death is a righteous thing to do. They believe that they are defending morality, when in reality, they are normalizing cruelty and even violence.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Now, we're in a time at the moment of severe propaganda. And let's break it down how this is being fueled. So first of all, we've got simplification. People are reducing Charlie Kirk to, he spread hate, he deserved death. Now, when you put down to such a simplified statement, it shuts down critical thought. The second issue is that we have selective quoting. Now, people on the internet are sharing only the most inflammatory sound bites, or even worse, they are misattributing quotes, which turns him into some form of caricature. Now, we've seen this really significantly done with people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Now, third, we see echo chambers happening. Online communities reinforce these ideas. They reinforce it until there is outrage, and this outrage becomes addictive. When we are in emotional throes, we are also undergoing huge chemical explosions within our bodies, which a lot of people who are fueled by drama and trauma, which is a significant subsection of society, they are literally addicted to the chemistry of this cycle of drama and trauma. Now, fourth, we've got moral licensing. Now, once you've decided that you're a good person who is fighting evil, almost anything becomes permissible, even celebrating assassination or assassinating people, as we have seen with Charlie Kirk's death. Now, these are classic Psy-Op techniques, which are psychological operations that are put in by governmental organizations, but not just governmental organizations. They're baked into media incentives. They have outrage, algorithms, and our own psychological blind spots are also add in to Psy-Ops being performed upon us. Now let's talk about the psychology of moral disengagement. Now, psychologists call this moral disengagement. It's the process of justifying harmful actions by reframing them as good. Now, when somebody tweets that Charlie Kirk's death is karma, what is actually happening psychologically is dehumanization. Kirk isn't seen as a father or a husband or even a human being. He's seen as a symbol of evil. Now, add that to a cognitive distortion, catastrophizing, black and white thinking, and projection, where people externalize their own hostility onto an opponent, and then combine that with all of the political identity, and you have a recipe for radicalization, which is what we are seeing more and more within very normal people as we move through these political psy-ops that have been taking place over the last few decades. Now, this really matters because where we're at currently in our society is an incredibly dangerous place. This isn't just about Charlie Kirk. It's about accepting political violence being justified against those that we dislike. Now, where does that stop? If we think that it's a good thing that people are being shot because we don't like the rhetoric that they have to say, we don't like their opinions, where does that stop? At the moment, it feels polarized, but Charlie Kirk wasn't an evil man. He was somebody that believed in open discourse. He spoke very respectfully to everybody that he spoke to, and he literally just stood by his morals and convictions as a conservative Christian man. He didn't incite violence. He didn't incite hatred. He didn't do a lot of the things that are being reported online. Now, the danger is normalization of these heinous acts. And the more that we celebrate harm, the more that we are likely to repeat it. Now, this erodes free speech. It fuels censorship and it fractures society even further. So what can we actually do? Well, there's 3 things that are really important. And if you take anything away from this video, this is it. Number 1 is that you need to practice media literacy. You need to check if a viral quote is real. And in the age of information where we have everything at our fingertips and utilizing tools like ChatGPT and AI, you can check things within seconds as to whether or not something is factually correct. Do your own research. Always check if a viral quote is real. I've seen things that have been quoted that have been misquoted from debates that I've literally watched Charlie involved in. And it's been miscommunicated. And it's inciting hatred and violence and legitimizing why people feel that it's okay to be celebrating that a young man has died. Number 2, remember nuance. Now, people can say offensive things without being irredeemably evil. Okay? You can say things that people don't like, and it doesn't mean that you're evil. It doesn't mean that you're hateful. It just means that you've said something that somebody doesn't like. We need to get back to sticks and stones. Can't even believe we're having to say this. Number 3, don't lose empathy. If you are ever tempted to celebrate somebody's death, pause and ask, what does this say about me? Not just them. What does it say about me? Now, if you're losing empathy for people because you think they were a bad person, you are not a good person. Yeah, you're not a good person, okay? If you are an empathic, kind person, you're an empathic, kind person to everybody regardless of who they are. That doesn't mean that we allow evil things to continue in the world. It doesn't mean that we accept these things. But it means that you have a moral standard that you pertain to regardless of who is in front of you. Now, take this alleged slur example. The internet has labeled Charlie Kirk a racist villain. Now, fact checkers later proved that it was a misheard name, but the correction reached a fraction of the audience than the viral clip did. That's the asymmetry of propaganda. Lies travel much faster than truth, and outrage spreads faster than nuance. This is why polarization keeps escalating, because our media diet is full of half-truths, memes, and an emotional bait designed to push us further apart. Charlie Kirk's death is truly tragic and one that has hit me hard. But even more tragic is how quickly we have dehumanized, distorted, and radicalized in response to the death of a young man. It's not about agreeing with his politics. It is about protecting our own humanity. Now, once we cross the line into celebrating death, we have become the hate that we claim to hate. So here's my challenge to you. The next time that you see a viral quote or a celebratory response, don't react. Step back, check the source, ask yourself, am I being manipulated into hate? Or am I choosing empathy and truth? Because that choice might be the only thing standing between us and a future of endless violence, of a new world order, and of true evil being able to inhabit this planet.